I'm currently in my senior year at school, and my son is a freshman at primary school. I know this sounds crazy, as I'm only 18. I'm going to tell you how it happened. My parents are business owners. They work very hard, and because of this, when I was younger, they got older kids to look after me. I missed my parents, but I understood how important their work was to them. Still, having the neighbor's 16-year-old daughter looking after me was kind of annoying. She would play loud music, invite her friends over, and eat all the snacks. When I was 11, I insisted that I didn't need a childminder anymore, and I was old enough to look after myself. They told me that I wasn't old enough yet, but they understood why I didn't want the neighbor and other teenagers babysitting me anymore. So they hired Eleanor, the nanny. She was in her 20s, polite, kind, and made the most amazing cookies. My parents instantly thought she was great, and to begin with, so did I. It was the little things that happened at first, like when she'd give me lingering looks and say things to me like, "Kyle, you're so grown up." Soon she was making me get changed in front of her. Then she made me keep my clothes off altogether. She forced me to watch adult videos, which I didn't properly understand. When I got upset, she'd tell me that I was being a baby and that she'd got me wrong and I must be very immature and childish. I hated what she was doing, but the thought of her thinking I was a baby upset me. I now know that she knew exactly what to say and do to manipulate me, but at the time I was just a kid and I didn't understand what she was doing. What Eleanor did grew worse, and she began to touch me inappropriately and make me do things that I didn't want to do. She told me that she was sick and that if I did these things, she would be healed. I became more and more withdrawn and angry at the world, but my parents just thought it was my age. Eleanor became pregnant and left. My parents thought that her boyfriend had got her pregnant. Eleanor kept in touch with them, and sometimes they sent her gifts and a little bit of money, which I found out later was because they felt sorry for her. This doesn't surprise me, as Eleanor was the queen of manipulation. I almost forgot everything about her until one day when I took part in a gender and social class at school. That's when I realized that I'd been abused. At first, I was completely shocked. I felt so sick when I thought about what happened, and I also felt angry. For the next few months, I was pretty horrible to be around. I shouted at my friend, said vile things to my parents, and ended up with a total of 5 detentions. My parents sat me down and demanded to know why I was acting so completely out of character. In the end, I decided that I couldn't let this eat me up anymore. So I told them the truth about Eleanor and what she'd made me do. My parents were shocked, and my mom started crying. After talking about it, they decided to call Eleanor around. They told her it was for a catch-up. When she arrived, they confronted her about what she'd done to me. But of course, she denied it. My mom walked out of the room in tears, and my dad went to comfort her. That's when I went into the room and came face to face with Eleanor. At first, she was her usual charming self, but soon her personality changed, and she turned vicious. She told me that if I carried on blaming her, she would make out that I assaulted her and land me in trouble, and that I just had to accept what she'd done to me and move on. Dad appeared and hurried me out of the room and made Eleanor leave our house. That's when I pulled my phone out of my pocket and told my parents that I'd recorded everything. We took the recording to the police and played it to them. A DNA test was carried out, and it turns out that the baby was actually mine. Eleanor was sentenced to 20 years in prison. I knew that she could be out after 10 years, and that does scare me, as I don't want her coming anywhere near my son. Although finding out I have a son was a massive shock, Stanley is my world, and I want to provide the best life I can for him, regardless of who his mother is. My parents helped me raise him. They've been really supportive and amazing. I don't blame them for what happened, as Eleanor fooled us all. Every day I drop Stanley off at school before I go to classes. The other kids know that I have a kid, and some of them say stuff about it behind my back. This used to upset me, but it doesn't anymore because they don't matter. What does matter is the fact that I have amazing friends who support me, great parents, and a truly awesome son. Life doesn't always plan out the way we expect it, but great things can grow out of the darkness. I love Stanley, and I want to be the best dad I can to him. After all, none of this is his fault. I know what happened to me was really bad, and I truly believe that there are more good people in the world than bad. If something bad has happened to you and you need to talk to someone, please don't be afraid to do so.